stuff. Sorry to those people. Nick, in fairness though, Nick's got to take some of this because he didn't put his full address. And when I went to mail it, they said, "Sir, do you know the mailing address?" And I was like, "This is what he gave me." And they're like, "That's a big road. That's a big road in Georgia, sir." Well, I'm like, "Well, just look for the Clemson mailbox. Obviously, that'll be Nick's place." 803-450-0086. Text line, phone line. Appreciate each and every one of you for being a part of the program. Again, Dabo Swanny yesterday spoke with members of the media. We heard from him after Saturday's scrimmage a little bit earlier in the program, but now we turn our attention to yesterday's practice up in Tiger Town as Clemson has a scrimmage tomorrow to pretty much begin to put the bow on, the button on fall camp. Dabo Swanny was again asked to elaborate further on what's going on with the offensive line. And it's wild because a lot of you listening to this show have been bringing that up quite a bit. You've been saying, Swanny, here's what we want to know about. And it's been a lot about the offensive front. Well, here's Dabo Swanny touching on that topic yesterday afternoon in Tiger Town.
Well, it's still a work in progress. I think all of them have done some good things. And the biggest thing is consistency. I think all of them physically can get the job done, and I think all three mentally can get the job done. But consistency with our snaps, that's the area we got to make some strides in. You got to be 100%, 99.99999%. When it comes to the CQ exchange. So that's an area that I think we got to clean up as we really hone in coming out of camp here. But all those guys have done a good job. Trent Howard has done a really good job. I'm really pleased with him. He's probably the most consistent when it comes to just the CQ exchange part. And but I think mentally and physically we got some guys that can get the job done. But again, just still need a little more consistency there.
Dabo Swanny says they still need a little bit more consistency. Called the offensive line still a work in progress. Again, these comments coming from yesterday afternoon up in Tiger Town. Swanny also was asked about his opportunity to go back and watch the tape, watch the film from the scrimmage on Saturday. And here's what Clemson's head coach had to say on that front.
Well, I mean, it's important, but listen, every day is important. I mean, when you're in camp, I mean, it's not just the scrimmages. I mean, you got to look at the totality of camp. Sometimes a guy can have a bad day, but he had a great camp, or somebody can have a bad camp and has a great scrimmage. So I think you got to weigh all that stuff together, but it's important. I mean, every single day that we come out here, it's critically important. But I think the biggest thing Saturday was just it's probably the best first scrimmage defensively that I've been a part of here. I mean, just absolutely no mistakes from a beating yourself standpoint, no penalties. Just didn't give up big plays, got stops in the red zone. I mean, they no drop off. I mean, I just was very pleased with how crisp they played. And then offensively, first group started out pretty good, moved the ball well, just kind of stalled out, had to settle for some field goals. But then as the day wore on, I thought the energy of the defense, they started getting some pressure. And, we kind of made some mistakes. But, I think we had 10 or 11 penalties on offense. So we had CQ exchange issues, had a couple of drops. We got running backs, receivers jumping off sides. And those are things you just can't do. It's hard enough to move the ball. And now when you're having kind of self-inflicted issues, that's not good. So today was much better from that standpoint, much better. Didn't have near as many penalties offensively. We did have a couple of tip picks that was disappointing, but defensively, I thought they had another solid day. We did have a couple boneheaded mistakes. We did have about 4 penalties on defense today. But it was a little more competitive. I thought Saturday the defense just won the day from top to bottom. And then again today, a little more competitive, but I would still say the defense came out with the edge, won the 2-minute drill, and won the third down drill as well. So still got some work to do, but I tell you, it's a blessing to be able to have the type of people that we got on this field to make each other better.
Dabo Swanny again, iron sharpens iron, and the Clemson Tigers getting after it on the gridiron in preparation for that matchup with Georgia will certainly help them. Some Georgia injury news we mentioned earlier in the program. We'll get back to that here coming up in just a few minutes as we roll along on a Wednesday afternoon. 803-450-0086. Text line, phone line wide open. Nick wears the shirt proudly, by the way. He told me as well. So again, always thankful for your text messages and the conversations that you guys give us live, whether you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter. Swanny was asked to give an update on some injuries. We know Joe Ngata's been banged up. That's not great. Like, that is just not great because he spent the majority of last season banged up. But here's some of what Coach Swanny had to say. And he said he wasn't going to get into it all, but he did dive in just a little bit for us on the injury front.
Not going to get any specifics because we just got a bunch of guys banged up. Joe's still out. Hopefully it's not a long-term thing. He's battling a hamstring. But I think everything that we're dealing with, John Williams is probably the one that's maybe a little more longer term. He'll be back at some point. He's probably a little more. The rest of the guys, they're all kind of day-to-day. It's been a long 2 weeks of camp, a lot of banging. And, guys just get to that point where it's something. It's a toenail. It's falling off. It's a sore shoulder. It's whatever. We've got a little bit of everything, but probably the only one right now that I'm concerned about is John. He's probably more long term.
So there you go, Coach Swanny talking about John Williams, offensive lineman, and him being a little bit banged up and a little bit more, quote, long term. Now, Swanny sort of said exactly what Kirby Smart said when we talked to you earlier today about the injuries at Georgia. Darnell Washington, who I expected, if Eric Gilbert stays out, to be a possible go-to guy at tight end. I could see him running some sets with maybe both of those guys out there. Apparently injured his foot in practice. And also a defensive player, Keith Smith, I believe is his name, was injured as well. And again, those guys are day-to-day. And at this point, day-to-day could very easily lead into the day of Clemson's matchup with the Georgia Bulldogs. So those injuries sound a little bit more than, hey, we're just a little bit banged up. But guys are banged up, kind of like you heard Coach Swanny talking about John Williams being a little bit banged up and thinks that's a longer-term issue for Williams. One of the other things, kind of focusing on that offensive line is the news that Matt Bockhorst has played some at center and maybe more than some people would have liked in terms of Clemson fans on the outside, maybe even more than Robbie Caldwell would like as the coach on the inside. But the question was asked, okay, well, when Bockhorst is at center, then, who's playing left guard? Like, what does your rotation look like if Baki, as they call him, if Baki, I think Swanny might be the only one that calls him Baki. Everybody else calls him Bach. But if Baki's at center, what else is happening around him?
Oh, absolutely. It's competition everywhere. We've been cross-training guys. Marcus Tate's the guy that's been working left tackle and guard. He's worked with the ones, the twos. T.O.'s another guy. Rayburn has played guard. Trotter's played guard. I mean, we've got all kind of combinations. The good news is we got more guys that can play, for us. So I'm excited about that. We're still, like I said, a work in progress with a couple of 2.5 weeks here before our first game. But I think we got a lot more guys that can go in and get the job done for us than we had this time last year.
So, again, it sounds like, listening to Dabo Swanny, that there's still a lot left to be decided there on the offensive front, but maybe Marcus Tate, if Bockhorst ends up having to be the guy, might be somebody who they rotate in there at left guard. Another spot where Clemson will be able to rotate guys on the offensive side of the ball is at running back. I mean, we know about this group. Matter of fact, if you read the roar today on ClemsonSportsTalk.com, you will know that I have a nickname for both Phil Maffa and Will Shipley. Will and Phil, the Fresh Prince, Prints. That was part of the article that Scott Sasser put up today as we bring back the roar Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and hopefully go into a 5-day release schedule soon. But those running backs at practice not only have to tote the biscuit down the field, those guys also have to be prepared for every single thing and wrinkle that Brent Venables throws them. And they were or at least Coach Swanny was asked about that as well. You know, how has the running back room done, especially given what they face at practice going up against BV, Brent Venables? Would that be if it's Brent Venables' defense, is that BBDs? I mean, is that what we're calling that as BBDs? I don't know if Coach Venables would like it. I better eat those words right now. Put that on replay. Don't let that hit the public waves. Nonetheless, here's what Coach Swanny had to say.
Our running back room is really good. I love those guys. I think we got a great group. You know, we got a couple, true freshmen in Shipley and Maffa that are going to be great players. And every single day is a learning experience for them. Kobe is, he doesn't. He's a true sophomore. He doesn't really carry himself that way. He kind of carries himself as a more, seasoned veteran. That's kind of how he goes about his business. Lynn Jay's got a ton of experience around here. We all know what he can do. Mikey Dukes just got a little later start to camp than the rest of the guys, so he was not in pads today. He's still in his acclimatization period. But Mikey's a guy that just has kind of missed out on some early opportunity, but we'll get him back rolling. And Rencher is a savvy veteran as well. So we got a really good room. I mean, I'm confident in all those guys. I think we're going to be able to have some explosiveness and some guys that can do some things in the passing game and so forth. But yeah, as I said, it's a blessing when and not just the defense. It's a blessing for our defense to have the type of offensive personnel that they see every day. I mean, you're not going to see a better offensive lineman in the country than Jordan McFadden. Nowhere. I mean, and Parks is not far off. And so for our ends to have to go against those type of players, and for our backers and our DBs, secondary guys to have to match up against the skill, the tight ends, the backs, it's a challenge for our defenses because there's a lot going on. And then the same thing, vice versa, man. It's baptism by fire when you come on this practice field, because you're going to see every front, every coverage, every blitz. We don't tiptoe through the installation from a defensive standpoint, But in the end, that's really good when you start game planning. When you really start to pare things down. Every year, that's one of the things I always see is the guys, they've been exposed to so much on the practice field. It helps us on game day for both sides. And that's one of the reasons I think we've been so successful around here for a long time, is there's not many teams in the country that can compete against each other in practice like we can, and to be honest with you, that's more important than anything. If you go to the national championship, that's 15 total days out of 365. That's it. So the other 350, that's really what it's all about. And so that's who you're training with, who you're competing against on the practice field every single day. And I think that we're very fortunate because we get exposed on this practice field as coaches. We get exposed as players, and it makes us better for game day.
Dabo Swanny again, talking about that Clemson running back group, and more importantly, just about what Clemson faces at practice every single day. Now, if you've been a part of this show for any time, one of the guys I'm looking forward to seeing, Trenton Simpson. Like, I don't think Mike Jones Jr. leaves for LSU if Trenton Simpson isn't in Tiger Town. Like, I fully believe that as great a competitor as people can be, as great of a leader as somebody might be, you can be in a situation where you look around and you recognize that the guy beside you is just better, and your opportunity might be limited. Here's Coach Swanny talking about Trenton Simpson and how he's been playing during fall camp.
Really good. He's a baller. He's a great player. He's still a young player, and obviously made some great strides for us last year. But he's I think he's had a very good camp. You just notice him all the time. I mean, he's still got some details that you'd like to see him be a little more detailed in certain areas, but he's one of those guys that covers up mistakes. Just a tremendous young prospect that's going to just keep getting better.
So again, Dabo Swanny there saying Trenton Simpson, that he's a baller. No doubt, man. That kid's a heck of a football player. 803-450-0086. Our website, ClemsonSportsTalk.com. Have you ever been? Ask yourself that. Have you ever been to the site? If you haven't, go check it out. Like, if you're thinking it looks like something that was created in a computer lab in Serene Hall in 1995, you're wrong. Go check that out, man. It'll blow your doors off. You won't believe how good Clemson Sports Talk looks. If you really like it and you really like the show, what you can do is support us. Memberships to our website, just $63.17. Now, we do a lot of stuff absolutely free. We give it away. But we do some things for premium subscribers only, and we'd love to have your support. It helps us grow. And if we can grow, this show can get better opportunity. So sort of, kind of you putting in a little bit to back what we do. That's your investment in us, and we appreciate it. And we'll try to bring you $63.17 worth of goodness year round. So if you like the show, consider it. With a quick break here on the program and bounce back, I want to ask you a question of major importance.
Now your chance to win $1,000 and a trip to our iHeartRadio Music Festival. Text the nationwide keyword WIN to 200-200. You'll get a confirmation text and info. Standard data and message rates apply in the nationwide contest. That's WIN to 200-200. Now, Columbia's most dependable traffic, sponsored by Pope Davis Tire and Automotive, home of the best tire prices in Columbia, guaranteed. Fox Sports Radio 1400 traffic.
A wreck on Shop at Atlas, also a tie-up Bauer Parkway at Saturn Parkway. If you're stuck, use the 103.5 FM WVOC traffic tip line 343-1055.
This report is sponsored by the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation. The Crohn's and Colitis Foundation has been at the forefront of inflammatory bowel disease research and care for over 50 years.